And welcome to another episode of 50 Shades in Grey. Now today we're going to be looking at a question that I was asked the other day, and that was my opinion on independent women. And that got me thinking quite a lot about it actually, because I was thinking, what is an independent woman now? What do we quantify as an independent woman when someone says to you, do you like independent women? What does that mean? And I guess like many questions, it's personal to what your beliefs are, what your morals are, and where your compass is, I guess. So my opinion, which is, just for me, an independent woman would firstly be someone that doesn't constantly tell you they're an independent woman. I find with most things like that, if people have to constantly tell you what they are, they're either not it or they're trying to believe they're it, and they want your blessing that they are it, if it were. For me, and again, only me, I think an independent woman is someone that knows they're independent and has got no agenda trying to convince everyone else that she is an independent woman, because she doesn't care. So I'm very attracted to independent women, but my idea of an independent woman is precisely that: someone who actually is independent, is okay on their own. They enjoy having you in their life, but they don't need you for their life. You're there as long as you can give happiness and give something positive to their life. Someone that makes their own decisions, someone that can figure out things for themselves, would welcome help but doesn't need help. Someone that, like we all do, gets upset at situations but will cry with a purpose. It won't just be crying for the sake of crying. It'll be crying with, right, I'm going to have 5 minutes of crying and then this problem is still going to be there, so I'm going to deal with it. I think for me, that is what an independent woman is. It's someone that, like I say, you feel like that you're part of their life, but you're aware that you need to have an input that is positive because they're fine on their own. And if you don't give positive, and some people might see that as a lot of pressure, and some people might see that like, you have to constantly try, and that's not what I mean. But like I say, I think an independent woman is someone who's precisely that. They're not going to stand up and keep saying, I'm an independent woman. They might encourage other people and say, women should be independent, but they don't focus it on them entirely all of the time. If they're constantly telling you what they are, it makes me wonder if they're actually that in the first place, because people with that sort of confidence usually don't need anyone else's applause for it, or they don't need justification for anyone else, because they're doing it primarily for them, and that's what they're doing it for, because they want that independence for themselves. They don't need to shout it from the rooftops, as it were. But like I said, listen, with relationships as well, we're all completely different, and how we think is very, very different as well. I was listening to another podcast the other day, quite a big podcast actually, and there was an American lawyer who was on there, and he was talking about divorce. And we've recently done, myself and Zach, a podcast all around divorce. So I had quite an interest in it, and he said something that it really stuck with me and made me think about. He said, if your greatest achievement is your kids, then you need to look at your life. And that did make me think. And I've always, if anyone's ever said to me, what is my greatest achievement in life, I would always say my son. And I think a lot of people would say their kids. And I think what he meant was that there should be more to your life than that. But I kind of disagreed with what he was saying, because I don't think my answer has changed. I think people have more in their life, but the thing that I'm most proud of that I've done in my life is my son, because he represents all of the good things in me, and I'm sure it's the same for his mum as well. I think he's a combination of the best parts of both of us, and that is my greatest achievement. And maybe it's a case of, listen, I haven't done a lot else in my life, but I think I've had an impact on people's lives in terms of my job. I'm a teacher, and hopefully along the way I've made a positive impact on children as much as I could have done. Haven't always got it right. Lots of times don't get it right, and constantly learning. Like they say, every day is a school day. But I would still say my greatest achievement is my son's. To that guy that said you need to look at your life, it's not. Yeah, I disagree, mate. I just think for me that is the purest kind of love that I've ever experienced is for my son. And I think when you speak to people that have got children, they'll say exactly the same thing. Once you have kids, it's just a completely unconditional love. And for me, that had a big effect on how I felt about love in terms of relationships. I think it put a much higher bar on it because once I had Zach, and like I say, it's this, and you guys out there that have got kids will understand this, that you would literally do anything for them, and you want the best for them. And I thought that I want to get as close to that as I possibly can in a relationship, and that's quite a hard thing to sort of achieve. But once you've experienced that sort of love, I think it completely changes. For me, it changed so much. It gave me an actual knowledge of what love can be, giving everything to someone, just laying down your life for someone, and wanting the best for them, and you would literally sacrifice everything you had to give them a good life. So, in terms of, is that my greatest achievement? Hell yeah, definitely. There's a lot of things I've done that I'm pleased with and I'm proud of, but none that come close to when I watch him do things, watch him speak, and that's not just my son actually. That's all of your kids. I'm sure we all feel that way about our own kids when they do something really well. You feel like you've played a part in that in terms of creating this person that's all the good things in them. They mess up a lot and they'll probably do bad things, but don't we all? So we take that in our stride as well, and you love them nevertheless. It just strikes me as that sort of love for our kids, that should be something that we should be proud of. Why shouldn't it be our greatest achievements? And like I said, everyone is different. We are all searching for different things. And we talk a lot on this podcast about relationships. And for me, relationships are a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. You can sit there and get a bit that you put together and it looks right, but it's just slightly out. Now, some people are happy with that. They're like, yeah, that'll do. They can see a little gap, but it doesn't bother them. They're quite happy to carry on with the rest of the puzzle and do all the other things because they've got a bit of fits. And other people, they want to get something and just jam it in. They know it doesn't fit, but they're gonna make it fit. They're gonna jam it in so it goes in there, even if it's a corner bit and it's right in the middle. They're gonna make sure it goes in, and they're gonna bash it with an hammer and do all with everything they can, and they're gonna make it work. And other people, and I'm one of these, want everything to be right. And if it's not right, they're quite prepared to keep searching and keep finding the bit that they want. Now, all of those three examples are right for different people. None of them are right and one's wrong. They're all completely right for what sort of character we are. And we're all different characters based upon how we're brought up, what our morals are, and I guess our parents' input, the good input, the bad input, and from the relationships that we've seen around us as well. So I think all of those ways suit different people. And exactly that, it's finding what works for you. You might be someone that's, willing to work and work and work and make it fit. And I know relationships are hard work, but you might be that person that's quite happy with a bit that looks about right and it sits there. And the great thing about relationships is, as long as the other piece that you're trying to match with is happy with that as well, then you've got a perfect relationship there. Because the other bit might be quite happy that you don't exactly fit, but they might think it works. It looks okay, it kind of goes, and we'll make it work. And again, if there's another person that knows that this piece doesn't fit, but they're going to work just as hard and be willing to be bashed about as well to make it fit, then that's going to work for them. For me, I guess I want the bit of the puzzle that's exactly right for me, and I'm exactly right for them, and it goes together exactly. And we're all different, so it's finding what is good for you, what suits you, and what makes you both happy. So the puzzle for you is completely different. And relationships, as corny as it sounds, do seem like a bit of a puzzle. It's some people find their pieces very early in life. Others might try 3 or 4 different things and realise that they've tried the bit that doesn't completely fit. They've tried the bit they've tried to smash in, and now they want the bit that goes exactly right. And I think that goes back to the podcast that we did before. I think sometimes, especially as people get through long relationships and they lose each other, and a lot of the time that can be because of kids, because they're both, one's out working, one's looking after the kids, and they tend to forget each other, and they both go in different directions and both pull apart, that they end up realizing actually we're 2 bits of a jigsaw that just don't fit, and maybe it's time that we look at other pieces. And for those people that are single and staying with that analogy, trying all these other bits of a jigsaw, so then that's a fun bit. I found that quite fun actually, because you meet a lot of bits that don't fit, but every time you do, you think, well, I'm one bit closer to finding the bit that does fit. So it might be an analogy that helps you with the jigsaw puzzle, the relationships, and just talking about your best achievements and why I think that our kids can be our greatest achievement. They don't have to be something that we think, oh, should I have done more than my life than my kids? Because it's about evolving, isn't it? It's about passing on all the stuff that we learn to our children, and then it goes to their children and their children. And if that's what gives you enjoyment, then that's what you should do. But thank you all for watching and listening to 50 Shades of Grey. I'll catch up. Make sure you subscribe and follow and give me a thumbs up. And thank you guys for listening. I really enjoy the podcast. We started them over a year ago now, and they're constantly growing, which is great. And I'm always amazed that people want to ask questions and actually listen to me, but I really enjoy doing it. And hopefully it helps people along the way with listening to a normal guy's point of view on relationships and being single and heading into new relationships and coming out of relationships and all those things, because it's my experience is based on precisely that. A lot of experiences, good and bad. And like I've always said on these podcasts, you've got to do what's right for you. And I've been on the receiving end of decisions that I haven't wanted to happen, but they've been the best thing, obviously, for the other person and for me in the long run, because I wouldn't have wanted to find out years down the line that it was something that someone could have told me sort of 20 years ago, and now that part of my life has just gone, and I won't get it back. So, like I say, thank you for watching, and we'll catch up, and be safe. Enjoy the summer. It's great summer. Get to a paddle court. Lots of stuff going on at paddle courts. Lots of socials. But we'll catch up. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.